Welcome to Jenn's on the Reel. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I am Jenn.
And I am Jenn.
And today we will be discussing discipline. And many of us have problems with discipline, and some of us are very good at it. So, we figured we'd give you our perspective. And Jenn walked in today talking about how she's an entrepreneur and her discipline, she should be at a different state of her life as an entrepreneur. Jenn, what's going on with you?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, when you're self-employed like we are, you have to have a lot of discipline. And there's days that are a little hard. We do live in Miami. Yeah. We have beautiful sunny days. And I have friends sometimes that take days off and they're like, oh, come to the beach. And I'm like, I can't. I have to work. And they're like, but aren't you your own boss?
Okay, so in that point, would you consider yourself being disciplined? You're sticking to work?
I think I'm too disciplined.
Okay.
I think I need to loosen up a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I should blow off work one day. Like, why not?
I mean, I think you can. You technically work almost 24/7.
Yeah, and I noticed that this week and last week, I've been getting home like every day past 8 o'clock. Because I have something going on or something's going on. And then I work one day out of the weekend. So I'm averaging the last 2 weeks, one day off, working, I don't know, 16 hours, 12 hours, you know what I mean?
That's a lot.
And then I wake up in the morning and then you have your routine because in order to be disciplined, you should have a routine. It's not like 9 to 5. You wake up, have your coffee, drop off the kids, and boom, you're at work.
Yeah, and even then there's a level of discipline you have to maintain at work to be consistent, But I guess for a work-life balance, discipline, to be able to block that schedule. I will tell you, I have a very hard time with that. And
it's hard. Like I try to do like the morning is me time. Mm-hmm. So that's the time that I go to the gym, then I take a shower, and then I try to start work by 9:30 the latest. But when I get home from the gym, I jump onto my emails, which is what happened to me today, which is why I was late. So I jumped into my emails. Then the phone started ringing. I started taking calls, and I still hadn't even showered. And I had to rush to shower, and then I had a Zoom, and then it all snowballed from there. And I just feel like my life has been like that all the time, constantly.
One thing I've noticed is if you don't put aside time for your own personal self, then work will definitely take over. But it also happens the other way around.
Well, that's where the discipline comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was going to the gym consistently, I would say 4 times a week. And lately I have not gone to the gym. And now I have the struggle of having to get back into it. What I've been trying to implement is meditation. So after David got back from Costa Rica doing the retreat that he did, he really got into this meditation thing. Now we have a meditation room and I love it, but I sometimes just rather sleep because I'm so tired from the day before. Whereas if I had just woken up and just go and meditate or work out or something, I probably have a better start to my day. But then I don't do it on time, then delays. And then by the time I decide to do it, my phone is blowing up.
Yeah, that's why I definitely do the morning. I don't think about it. Yeah. I just get up, get dressed, and go to the gym in the morning.
Do you block your phone, like from phone calls?
Well, that's one thing. I don't answer the phone while I'm at the gym, like at all. I won't even, like, not even a text message. They'll come in, I might hear it, I just don't look at it. Because once I look at it, I'll get the anxiety, I'll start stressing out, I'm gonna wanna answer. Yeah. And I have a strict rule. I just get up and go. Nobody is gonna like die because they didn't talk to me before 8 in the morning.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a heart surgeon.
No, and honestly, not a lot of things are open around that time frame either. So there's not much you can do.
No,
like,
the office is
even
not
enter.
Right, the office is not open. And not only that, it's like, this is my thing. If it's an emergency, hang up and call 911. Like, I can barely give CPR, So like, unless it's like, and obviously if I know there's a closing going on that morning, then obviously, and that person's calling me, I'll pick up because something's going on. Yeah. But it has to be something like that. There's nothing that can't wait before the office is open.
I've made the mistake of putting my notifications on in my phone and have my headphones on at the gym. So every time a text message comes through, not only does it ding, but it tells me the message.
Yes, I have that in my phone too.
Which is helpful in certain occasions, but in stuff like this, when you're trying to block, no.
It's funny because you could stop it. We have to go stop. So there's times I'm like, stop, stop. And it's not stopping. I'm like, stop.
Yeah, I do that. I'll be like, Siri, stop notifications,
Yeah.
and it'll do that, but it'll only do that for 24 hours. So it starts again the following day.
No, but I'm saying like while it's dictating you the
Yeah.
text, if you go stop, it's supposed to stop dictating. Because sometimes it's like Tory Burch is having a 50% off sale. It's like, I don't care.
I don't care about
You know
that,
what I mean? Like, stop. And you see me yelling. I'm like, stop. And I'm
Yeah.
at the gym. It's so funny.
It is. It's so awkward too, because the whole time you're trying to keep trying to keep composure and into your workout and not let anybody.
Right, because you're supposed to concentrate. You know, there is a concentration factor involved in when you work out. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I try not to answer the phone at all in the morning, which gets me to the gym. But I feel like once you break the routine, it's harder to get back on it.
It really is.
So that's happened to
I'm
me
having a hard
before.
time with that right now.
Right, that's happened to me before, and I tell people, and I've been working out for like 30 years, and it's hard if I get off track. It's hard for me that I've done it for so many years.
Yeah.
So I could just imagine for somebody who's done it for just a year.
It's interesting how creating the habit of working out is so difficult, but yet dismantling that whole habit is so easy.
So easy.
And
It's not even fair, honestly.
No, I want to touch on I know we're talking about discipline, but I had my friend called me this morning, and she had listened to our Ozempic episode.
Okay.
And she loved it. She had like so much. I was like, I should have just put you on that show. You have so much information.
Oh, damn.
I know, but she said no. She's too shy. She won't say a word. But anyway, she was talking about how, at least to start off, because we go through this whole process, at least to Jen.
Sorry. See what I'm saying? I thought it was like on silent.
There goes your notifications. So at least to start off, at least start on Ozempic to like for a short period of time, and then move on to working out and creating that habit, because the eating habit is so difficult for me. So she was suggesting I do something like that. But aside from working out, I mean, discipline at work and focusing is another animal.
Oh, what? Squirrel?
Mm-hmm.
Like that happens to me all the time. You don't know how many times I have emails in my draft. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't send this out. So yeah, but I feel okay. So when you're disciplined, imagine. So our job, at least for me, I feel like I have to wake up every day and just invent. Like, how am I getting more clients? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? So
you don't have it scheduled.
Right. But it's kind of hard because there's busy work and then there's productive work.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like, I'm disciplined because I'm working, like working.
You're showing up to work.
Right. I'm showing up to work and I'm working. But sometimes I feel I'm just not productive and I'm just doing busy work just to feel like I'm working, so I don't feel like a loser that I'm unemployed.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I think there's a battle as an entrepreneur as to what is busy work and what is productive work. I think a lot of entrepreneurs think that, shuffling papers and organizing certain things or whatever is productive to them versus what really actually makes them money, which would be prospecting and talking to people, networking and so forth, which most people don't like to do because it means you're talking to people.
Oh, I feel like the busy work kind of is like an excuse to distract you from the productive work that you don't really want to do, like phone calls and stuff like that.
I'm totally
not gonna
guilty
lie.
for
I was gonna
that.
tell you, I totally do that. Like I gotta check my emails, all 187, which I know sounds like a lot, but isn't.
And most of it is spam.
Yeah, and then I'm checking emails and it's like hours go by and then I checked emails and I get phone calls, I'm resolving problems, so I'm not really being productive. And I feel sometimes like I use that as an excuse not to do the stuff that you don't want to do, which for most people in our businesses, nobody wants to make phone calls.
Nobody wants to talk to anybody.
Nobody wants to talk to anybody. And in my line of work, I have to talk to people as well, which is why this whole menopause has thrown a little screw wrench in that, because I don't feel like talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So I feel like I'm not disciplined in that part. Like I should be like, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to call these people. And maybe have a list. That's how I used to do it. I had a list. Like, okay, this week, this is my list of everyone that I have to call this week or today or tomorrow. And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel you could be disciplined, but at the same time, it's very easy to get off track.
It's so easy to do the negative, the things that are wrong, at all times. I was listening to Laila Hormozi, and we had mentioned that to be one of my favorite podcasts. And she was talking about that, like, how do you just keep going or doing the things that you have to do and stay on track, when sometimes you're just not in the mood to do it, or, and I think, one thing I really liked about what she said was just don't think about it. Just do it.
That's what I just said. When I wake up in the morning to go to the gym, what was that?
You had a notification.
That was weird. My phone's never done that. But when I wake up in the morning, so when I did get off the routine, I remember I would wake up in the morning, try to get dressed. Sometimes I even made it as far as getting dressed, just never left my house.
Yeah.
But I did notice that if you go autopilot, so in the morning I wake up, I just get dressed. I don't think about getting dressed. I actually get dressed. Because before it was like, do I go to the gym? Mm-hmm. Do I not go to the gym?
I think getting dressed makes a big deal as to what your actions are going to be next.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but it is a little push, because essentially the not all the time also means that you weren't thinking about doing it anyway, but you tried.
So I guess you're like, okay, listen, no lie. One time I actually made it to the gym. And then I left. I didn't even get off my car.
I did that with David. We have this thing where we don't want to go to the gym. We go to Islas Canarias and we go eat croquetas.
Oh my God, that's even worse.
Yeah. So one time we actually
that sounds like a David idea.
It's a little bit of both, but but we made it all the way inside of the gym. We checked in and everything. We were halfway through, and we said, you know what? No, there's too many people here. Let's go. And we went to eat croquetas.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. Just do it. You don't think about it. Like Nike was onto something when they made up that slogan. Just do it.
Yes, they did such a great job with that.
Get dressed, go, and don't even think about it. Like I don't even think about what I'm going to work out. And so before I used to drink my coffee first and then go.
Okay.
I don't even do that. I get dressed, get in the car, take the coffee with me, and just drink it on the way. Today I didn't even finish it. And that way I don't think about it.
How do you do at home, like working from home? I know you have an office, but you also work from home.
Yes, I do work from home. So I've been self-employed for so many years. So the discipline part is easy. I've always had an office. So I get home, I go straight into my office, I close the door and pretend I'm not even here. It's funny because sometimes they walk in and they're talking to me and I'm like,
dude, I'm working.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, do you need something?
I have a hard time because, man, do I love to go in the kitchen to look for food when I'm home. And then that's such a big distraction because you pass by all the stuff that you have to do in the house. You see it all versus just staying in the office. Whereas David would do what you said, which was go inside of the office and just not leave the room.
Right. I ignore. Like, even if I have a cup of coffee, I don't even wash the cup. I just leave it there. And then I'll wash everything when I'm done working. I don't do laundry. Like, it's hard. And like, I go straight into my office and I just close the door. Like, I don't even, nothing like laundry. If there's, and the food thing, I try not to, but sometimes my anxiety kicks in and I'll be like,
feel like you have to go.
Or I'll be pacing up and down on the phone. And then before you know it, I'm like snacking on something. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not even hungry.
Yeah.
That part sucks.
Yeah, it does. I do fall into I'm going to, go get a coffee and then I wash it and then end up washing all the other items that the kids left behind.
Then you clean the counter.
And then everything just kind of spirals from there. And all of a sudden I'm catching myself not doing And then the other thing is, I'll also go around in circles, kind of like from one thing to another. Like, oh, I had to do this. Oh, wait, but I had to do this. And it doesn't have to be personal only. It's like even at work.
Yes.
I have a million tabs open of things that I have to do.
I hate when that happens. That happens to me all the time. So when that happens to me, I stop and I make a list.
I was just going to say that is probably the only thing that has worked for me is to make the list. But I'll even jump. Like, I'll try to prioritize on the list, like the best, the one that I need to do first and this and this and that. But then I'm like, kind of don't want to do that right now. I'm going to skip to this one and I do this one. And then
I just write it down in whatever order. And then I'm not going to lie. Then I barely look at it again. I guess since I wrote it down, it's in my brain.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I did this. Oh, look, I did. Oh, hey, I did some of the stuff, so it helps.
Yep.
But it's hard because especially working from home and you don't have it's lonely too.
Well, it is lonely. So you start finding things to do versus like in the office. But then it also applies in the office because then you do have people around and then you start getting distracted.
Well, that's what I'm telling you.
Distractions are so easy.
That's what sometimes I go into the office and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to work here. And then I really get nothing done because either, hey, Jenn, hey, come here, and then it could
You
get
know,
distracting.
I don't know how digital creators, and maybe Lewis can elaborate on this, but digital creators deal with this stuff because I've created some like flyers or posts or whatever, and I find myself staying within that post for like, I don't know, almost an hour sometimes in creation because of the different I guess gadgets or things that you can do within the creating the material, and then I get distracted with something else, and then I never get to it. So all of a sudden I'm like 2 hours into one design in order for
that's
us
a
to
lot.
post. Yeah. And so then I'm like, dude, how am I going to promote myself if I can't even get one design out in an hour?
Sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes like I just post anything. Something's better than nothing.
This is true. This is true. I get a little particular about it. If I'm like embarrassed because it wasn't good, I'm not going to post it,
I guess, yeah. But nowadays I got Canva with templates,
Yeah, that's true.
but then they all look alike.
I tried to do,
I'm looking at Louis like,
yeah, me too. I tried to do the chat GPT of like, oh, can you change this image, like one of our images or whatever? Can you change this and make it, like surprise or like a bait or something to that extent? And it changes our faces completely. So I'm like, this is retarded. And now
oh
have
yeah,
to
I
go
don't think
back and
they
do
have
something
it
else.
like down packed yet because it distorts.
No, but somehow David did find a way to get it done. And his face, he just looks a little tan, but it looks like his face.
It looks
just
like
with
him.
expression.
I saw it. It looks like him.
I'm going to have to ask his
But he
marketing
did it
person.
in ChatGPT.
I have no idea what he did.
Yeah, we need to get the
I'm gonna find
411.
out.
on
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna find out because I feel like I'm missing out. I started talking about ChatGPT. I figured, you know what? Why not ask ChatGPT, the best therapist and advisor?
My BFF.
Exactly. What does ChatGPT think is discipline, or what are the right ways for us to develop discipline? And number one was consistency over motivation. It says discipline is about showing up and taking action regardless of how you feel. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is dependable. Small, consistent actions build habits which lead to long-term results. That was number one. And then number two was delayed gratification. Discipline means choosing what you want most over what you want now. And I think we fall in line with aiming at what we want now versus that main goal and focusing on that one goal.
Every day we fall into that.
All the time, yeah. And then it helps you resist temptation and distractions in favor of bigger goals. Long-term success often comes from short-term sacrifices.
Which that is true. I must agree with that.
Have you seen the videos of they put weights of different orders, so like a different levels of weights, so like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, it goes all the way up to the end. And then you have two people. One of them starts from the beginning, from doing the easier ones first.
Okay.
And then the other one starts from doing the harder one first, and
Right.
who finishes first. And the one that starts with the hardest task is the one that always finishes first by so much. And the end result is so much easier for them, and they accomplished everything. So it makes you think like, dude, what am I so afraid of doing something difficult right now if it's going to make it so much easier later?
Right. And so much better.
And there's also a graph. I'm such a nerd. I just realized this. There's a graph of a ball. It's like two sections. One is a straight slope, and then the other one is like this, like a squirrely line. And the squirrely line is supposed to identify your ups and downs in the industry.
Okay.
And how you get to a place faster through these ups and downs, right? So when you put them both together to start from the top, the one with the ups and downs actually ends up a lot faster than the one that goes straight down.
No way. Go
Yep.
figure.
Yep. And if you really put it in perspective as to reality, as to who we are, when you make a mistake, you learn from it a lot faster than somebody who's never made a mistake before.
Yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right. You learn it, and then you actually improved yourself, which is
Exactly.
probably why it gives a little higher.
Yeah. So it's like a little, because
Like a little drop, and then you're back up.
and the drop tends to be lower than the actual slope. So you drop hard, but then you come back up, and it's pretty interesting how that I found that perspective to relate to life in general, and I'm really trying to put together, I guess, in my head, like, Jen, it's okay to do the difficult parts first. As a matter of fact, doing this podcast for me, I haven't been public in a long time. David is the one that's always doing it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this again. And I'm so glad that you decided that you wanted to do it too, that you were also thinking about doing it. And, this is a way of me doing something that would be considered uncomfortable for many. Mm-hmm. But yet, as we continue to do this, our shows keep getting a little bit better. We get a little bit more comfortable with each other.
Yes, I feel that we do.
I think so too.
That's like the whole saying is, okay, you take one step back, but you take 2 steps forward.
Correct. It's a similar concept.
Similar concept.
A lot of people, the biggest problem that we're having right now is that immediate gratification. And you'll find it, people don't have discipline at work because, they don't get a result right away.
And I think they're scared to fail.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail because failure comes in different forms and different levels. You know what I mean?
Failure is going to happen no matter what. It's inevitable at some point.
Absolutely.
I think more than anything, you can't aim to fail. Because then you're not aiming to actually get a result or a positive outcome.
You want to aim always to succeed, obviously.
Exactly.
But if something happens along the way, you adapt and readjust and move forward.
Exactly. So it's all a mental thing. Like, I think, most of it is mental. We're allowing ourselves to be comfortable in certain circumstances, or in your case, you've probably put yourself in uncomfortable situations for long periods of time that you don't give yourself the opportunity to have a comfort moment.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I try not to put myself in uncomfortable situations personally.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm the type of person that if I'm doing something that I don't want to do, it just puts me in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't want to do something and I'm being forced to do something, I'm just like in a bad mood. But professional life, I feel you should be putting yourself in uncomfortable situations because that's the only way you grow. Yeah. Like, they tell you, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
That's true. If it doesn't give you fear, then why are you even doing it?
Yeah, like, what's the point?
Exactly. Except don't jump in the water with sharks and stuff like that.
There's exceptions, guys.
There's certain things. And then the last thing it says is self-accountability. Discipline requires you to take responsibility for your actions and outcomes. Not blaming others or waiting for perfect conditions. It's about holding yourself to your own standards, even when no one is watching. To that point, I feel like a lot of people blame outside sources or situations or people for their outcomes.
All the time. I see it at work all the time. Something goes wrong, they're blaming somebody else instead of looking at themselves in the mirror.
Buyers do that, sellers do that, realtors do that a lot. And unfortunately, you have to deal with a lot of realtors.
Yes, realtors do that a lot.
And our children. The moment I feel like my kids are giving me an excuse for something that they did, I'm just like, no. There's a point in your life where you have to take accountability for your actions. Just because you're a child doesn't justify your actions all the time.
No, definitely. And that does happen a lot with kids. And it's always somebody else's fault. It's never their fault.
Yes. It's a world we're living in right now. I will say, and I'm not going to elaborate too much on that because it's very personal. And honestly, I didn't even sleep. But my sister and I have had an on and off kind of relationship. And a lot of it has to do with what I believe is to be a lack of accountability for her own self-actions and everything being pointed at somebody else, treating her a certain type of way or not respecting her a certain type of way or this and that, and then justifying her actions or lack thereof due to other factors or outside factors, and I feel like she's living in the past versus looking forward and moving ahead. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that.
And to me, that's like a waste of time because you can't go back and change the past.
It's like, what are you expecting? And that's like almost like living in depression or something like that. You're living your life and, looking at the rearview mirror.
Right. And there's nothing back there. You can't go back and change anything. You just got to go forward.
Yeah.
I actually told that to my son the other day. I go, look, at the end of the day, you don't look back. Just get up, dust yourself off, and move forward.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
The past happened. And then I want to add this last thing, I guess, on my points that I've been adding today is you only have today. Yesterday doesn't exist anymore. And tomorrow doesn't exist either because you're not there yet.
No, and it's not guaranteed.
No, it's not guaranteed. So you only have today. So why are we worrying? Why are we creating a persona, an identity to something that was from the past when you can choose to change it, even if it's hard. I'm not saying it's not gonna be hard, but you can change that. And the same goes with discipline, with habits, with, your choices in relationships, your anything. You lost money, your choices in business, etc.
Well, life is about choices. So I feel like the choices that we make, they do mold you.
Yeah.
And just because you made a bad choice one day doesn't mean that tomorrow you can get up and it's a new day, you make a better choice.
Yeah.
Like, I like that depression. I know that some people are
It's
really
real.
depressed. I get it. It's real. But I also feel like, you choose every day. What do you want to be? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be sad? Do you want to be productive?
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the beach?
Yep. Yep. And I think it's learning how to snap it.
Yeah, and it's hard. And I know that because with the whole perimenopause thing, I did go through a depression when you're there. And it was hard because you're like, who am I? Like, there's so many things you start questioning and you can't get out of bed. And so that's when I know it's real. And I'm a positive person. You've known me for years.
Yeah.
Like, I get up and I'm like,
all you do is joke around.
and I'm like, I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm going to try to move forward. And even then, it's kind of hard,
Yeah. I mean, I would never know because I've never seen you in that space. You cover it well,
I do. I'm not like that right now.
Right now, you're exhausted.
But my thing, I think it's mostly hormonal.
Yeah.
Because I'm not I'm not on medication or anything like that. But yeah, you go through that. And I know in perimenopause and menopause, women go through that.
I think I'm going through it. Listen, I went off on 3 people yesterday.
Okay, but that could just be the job.
No, this has nothing to. This was different scenarios.
Oh, but you weren't stressed out?
One was my neighbor. The other one was my sister or brother.
Oh, so you were having a day. Mm-hmm. Okay, we all have
and
those.
And then David, I was on a rampage. It's hard to control sometimes, but yes,
Yeah, you might be in the beginnings of the change.
No, I went to the doctor too, and
let me tell you, said everything was normal.
no,
Oh, okay.
they said that I'm entering that stage too, and I was
You
oh
see?
dang, and it was like but you don't know until you know.
Yeah,
until they
and you're
tell
like,
you.
because you're like, oh, maybe.
But no, I'm too
But
young
nah,
for it.
I'm too young for that.
Yeah. But yeah.
Which you are kind of young for that. I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. But
Like, that'd
God-
be starting
God knows.
super early.
God knows why it's happening, but whatever. Maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see when the blood work comes in.
All right.
But yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, share. We really appreciate your comments. Anything that you can say to elaborate on this.
Any discipline tips you have, we'll take them.
Yes, exactly. And we look forward to our next show. And thank you so much.
Bye.